Welcome to Opening Up in Lockdown Day 3. I've not made a video for a couple of days because my head's not been in the right place, and I wanted to make one a day, and it's just not gone like that. And I think it's the right time to be honest about that and to say, look, it's not all about achieving goals and success and striving for the best. It's not. Some days it's about just showing up, being kind to yourself, peaceful, calm, just getting through it in the best way that you can. And so do give yourselves a break, and don't worry if you're not keeping up with these videos. That's fine. I'm not, but I will get them done and then I'll post them when the time's right. But if you did have a chance to have a go at yesterday's task, hopefully you can see that you can train yourself to see more opportunities for these sorts of things. Giving positive feedback where it's due is rewarding for you as it is for the person receiving it. It might just be what that person needed at the right time. You train your reticular activating system. If you can train it to look for opportunities to give someone else a high five, then you can train it to look for where you deserve that credit. You can use appreciative inquiry to capitalize on that sort of those signposts where actually, look, I deserve some credit for that. I did well there. What went well? How do I build on that more, rather than why was it rubbish and why should I never do it again? And believe me, I've thought that about these videos, already. This is a stupid thing. I'm not going to do them. It's not working. I'm not some sort of superhuman now that I know some of these techniques. I have to check myself sometimes and go, no, this is a good idea. This is what you want to do, but just give yourself a couple of days and do it when you're ready. So that was yesterday. Today we're going to talk about a self-awareness tool. But before we talk about it, I'm going to try and give it some context for why it's been so important for me. Many years ago, somebody very close to me said, "You care too much about what other people think about you," and it was like new information to me. It made so much sense. Yet it was brand new when it was said. And I'm not even sure if I reacted at the time, but it's stuck with me since. And it's right. It explains a lot of the reasons why I am how I am. I wasn't in a period of sort of ready for growth back then. I wasn't in that mindset. So it didn't change a right lot, but it kind of explained why I always went to the nth degree to try and keep everybody happy. I really aren't good with letting people down. I've not been good at being late. I can't handle people not being happy with me. I don't take criticism well. I haven't taken criticism well previously, but I'm trying. I can be better at it. And the stakes have all been low, so it was okay for me to just go like, okay, that's new information, but fine, whatever. And carry on taking the path of least resistance. And, not just, in work life, take the right job at the right time, don't step outside your comfort zone too far. But also even in like conversations and friendships and, trying to, what should I say to, I don't know. I make people laugh. I find that a lot easier to make people laugh and talk about others rather than talking about sort of my own stuff and my own, this sort of stuff. But the stakes are getting higher. The stakes have felt higher because things are changing for me a bit. I've bought a house, sort of forever home with my girlfriend. We've got a lifetime sort of mortgage. Talking about a family. I've got kind of this business that I'm passionate about and I wanted to achieve for those reasons, but also it's kind of the path to the work-life balance that I've always dreamt of. And so that's the stakes are higher. I'm having to be more authentic me than maybe I ever have had to. And so that's come along with some of these feelings. Someone who I work with, who's a very wise lady, said to me that when people are in a transition period in their lives, they're having to let go of something that's important to them, even if they've not really realised it, something or someone or whatever it might be. If you're having to let go of something big, then that's likely to come along with some anxiety and some real kind of emotional struggle. And so I've no doubt that some of that is playing a part in the way that I'm feeling at the moment. But I knew it was getting too much for me. I knew it was getting too much when it would start to play into my live scenarios. So previously, it might be that I would go over a conversation or something I'd done or said, or the way I thought I'd let somebody down. I'd go over it in my head afterwards, and I would play on it, and I would feel like I'd really upset or let somebody down. But I wouldn't talk to them about it. I would just go over it. I would talk to my partner about it, and often it'd just be the people that I've been in relationships with are probably the only people to have really seen the extent of that side of my personality, because I just don't want that side to come across. Do you know what I mean? And so that's, sorry to any of those people who might be watching this, and a massive thank you to my girlfriend, because she helps me keep things in perspective and stops these things from running away from me. But at the same time, that has to give somewhere. And I've realised when it had got too much, when I got to a point where I'd start to feel it in live conversations. I'd start to pick apart what I was saying as I was saying it. I'd start to think, what might people think if they realise that this is what's coming out of my mind? It's such a weird thing to admit. And again, please don't worry about me. I'm talking about it. It's okay. But there's a guilt, an extra layer of guilt. It's a loop. The more I felt like that, the more I realised people will notice that I'm not right. And I can't talk about it. So I would become more and more subdued. I would try and avoid that sort of conversation, or I would have more of a drink, because if I've had a bit of Dutch courage, then I'll feel more confident. And so, I did lean on alcohol a little bit. And again, please, I don't want you to worry about me. I'm aware of these things and I'm talking about them. But I want you to be aware. I want you to know about them too, and I think it's important that I put these across, because it might trigger something in you watching, who then can be aware of these things too. And the reality is that, I'm on the right side of it. I've had some CBT, some coping mechanisms. You can self-refer for group CBT sessions, which don't involve like sitting around and talking. They're a class, and they're really useful for a lot of people. So I'll post some links and some more information on that. But yeah, so for me, the point is that I knew it wasn't these people judging me, and I didn't want that extra layer of guilt. I didn't want people to think, why do you think I'm judging you? How possibly could I be? It's in here. It's not to do with anyone else. But yet, often it's useful to start with why. And in this sort of instance, it can be too deep and it can be too buried and too long ago. And I don't remember my childhood much from before sort of 12, 13 years old, just because I just don't have that type of memory. And I think if you think about how those formative years are designed, that kind of school sort of reports and grades and homework, and have you been good today, or are you naughty, that kind of, is your painting, can that go on the wall or does it go in the bin? All that sort of stuff where you're trained to look outwardly for validation from others. It's going to be very difficult for people not to drag some of that through to adult life. And the reality is that nobody knows what I'm capable of. Nobody has all the answers and all the information, and they're probably not making those judgments either. So, we need to be kinder to ourselves and remind ourselves that only we can be sure about what we're capable of. So the beauty of coaching for me is that it doesn't need to look too deep into all that. That information I've given you there is for you. And, it's not, the beauty of coaching is that it's more about, well, where do you want to be and how do we get there? Despite everything else you can achieve, and how do we best go about doing that? And a lot of that can be with some self-awareness. And this tool that we'll talk about today is called the Johari window. And it's invented by two guys, Joe and Harry, and it's worth Googling. We're nearly at 10 minutes, so I'm not going to speak about it for too long, but I'll give you a brief overview. It puts our lives into a window with 4 panes, and we've got the open window, which is what you know about yourself and what everyone else knows about you as well. You wear it on your sleeve, you say it, you behave like it, everyone knows, it's in your open window, and that's where things should be, really. Because it gives us an authenticity, and then we've got our unknown window. Now, the unknown window, it's stuff that you don't know about yourself because it's in your subconscious, but nor does anybody else know about it either. And then you've got, so we can't talk about that one really because it's difficult and nobody knows about it. But then what we've got is you've got the blind window. So that is the window in which the stuff that you cannot see about yourself, but everyone else can, or others can. That's your blind window. So for me, it would have been before my friend said to me, "You care too much about what the people think." That was something that someone else could see about me, but that I couldn't. And it was in my blind window, and it belonged in my open window where it is now. And your hidden window, it's the hidden window, I think, is where we can all make a bit of ground, because that's the part of our personalities where other people can't see, but we can, but we keep them hidden. We don't talk about them, and I think they hold some power over us. Part of the reason I'm doing this, part of the reason I suppose I talked about the example of wanting to be a cook yesterday. If you had a bad situation with cooking once, or perhaps you hold some self-limiting beliefs, that idea of I'm going to start to have dinner parties and cook for people and grow could be a barrier to you getting to that place that you want to be. You might not talk about it. So nobody knows, nobody holds you accountable for that thing, and it remains hidden. It doesn't have to be all deep like this stuff that I'm sharing with you. It can literally just be an aspiration or a goal that you don't talk about, and that if you did, your reticular activating system might click in. Your ability to look for those avenues might improve, and you could start to use appreciative inquiry to look at some of those opportunities where you did do a really good meal and that did work, and you might, you can set yourself a 1% goal rather than the big goal at the end of being a Michelin star chef. So have a go at it, look it up, think about, maybe use it sparingly initially, but have a think about whether there's stuff that you're not saying that's holding you back, big or small, and maybe start to think about how you can bring it out into reality and change your relationship with it, so that you might become close to the person that you want to be. I've banged on for nearly 13 minutes, so thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with more, and yeah, thanks a lot.